Hello and welcome to Theme Park History Episode 6. Today's episode will take an in-depth look at Flambards theme park. During its opening years, Flambards operated from a small Cornish town called Helston. Having originally opened under a different name in 1974, that being Cornwall Aero Park, and also the park during this era was owned by Douglas Kingsford Hell MBE. However, in the year 1990, the park was rebranded Flambards. Sadly, in 2013, the Flambards business went into administration, being bought out and rescued by Livingston Leisure for the huge sum of £1.5 million in 2013. On the 4th of November 2024, Flambards declared it was closing permanently. 2024 had been its final season. Having only recently closed, a lot of the rides are standing but not operating, SBNO'd. However, despite the lack of coasters at this park, we are going to look at the coasters briefly. As it goes for coasters, their first operational coaster was the Dragon Ride, made by the mighty Zamperla. This family sit-down, steel-powered coaster from 1990 to 1994 was pretty dire. It didn't have much theming. I can't find much resources, but the layout and the action of the track look pretty tame. The train looks fantastic, but yeah, there isn't really much to say about the Dragon Ride. I'm just being fair. The second and only coaster is the Hornet coaster. Again, this is a family still sit-down coaster, and it's a Zero. However, it actually has a lift hill. The coaster layout has a bit more charisma, more vibrantly coloured in blue and yellow, and this one certainly has more oomph than the Dragon Ride. I would still not class it as a family thrill. I think considering these are the only two coasters the park ever owned, it's fair to say that this theme park relied heavily on flat rides and the museum exhibitions. All considering that it was known as Cornwall's biggest theme park. Let's go back to that mention of the museum exhibition. Cornwall Aero Park was initially intended to be an aviation museum, but somehow turned into a cross-genre amusement park. It housed Britain in the Blitz, a Victorian village, and a small aviation exhibition. The exhibitions were excellent, but overall, they were small in size. Museums are not the focus of this channel or podcast, but I do want to elaborate on the whole situation. Flambards had a lot of rides, essentially giving it the name theme park. However, it clearly focused on museum content too. You might say, what is the issue here? Drayton Manor, Chessington, Poultons and Flamingo Land have zoos, just to name a few. But all of those four have huge numbers visiting their parks. Is it worth bringing up the location again regarding Flambards? In the most southern west area of the country, was it hard to reach? Well, let's be fair, Cornwall is one of the most visited holiday spots in the country, if not the most. Despite it being distant from most of the country, it's hitting high numbers of tourists. Location is unlikely the cause of its demise. I mentioned cross-genre, but a zoo mixed with a theme park, yeah, that seems to work. Cognitive history exhibition with a theme park. Flambards is kind of isolated here. I've seen air shows or museums with a ride or a small selection of rides. The Dorset Steam Fair has a large fun fair, but fun fairs travel and serve a purpose, which is to entertain on a short-term basis. Flambards' lineup of rides was short of being a good fun fair, so essentially did not mirror events such as the Dorset Steam Festival or the International Air Tattoo. What I'm saying here is that it did not qualify as a big museum. It did not reach the standards of a huge fun fair. It lacked depth to be a successful theme park. However, they complained of a lack of visitors, with that being the root cause of a lack of money. Having survived from 1976 to 2024, that's 48 years of a location entertaining paid visitors. That's not short term, but it's clear from clinical observation that Flambards always struggled. As we previously noted, it went into administration at one point, for even after a takeover, this venue failed. Penny pinching, or even an investor without a suitable improvement budget. Is there not laws about this? Investment without a sustainability budget? Food for thought, hey? This brings me to the end of redundant parks in the UK, but not the end of highlights of nostalgia. That's it for today's episode. See you soon.